one, it makes it more affordable for people. The thing that people don't think about insurance is you have a lifetime maximum. So if you're going to the chiropractor every week and you get adjusted, well, that's just coming down and all this, you know, say you start when you're 35 years old. Well, most people start between 35 and 50. Well, when you're 65, 70 and you fall down and you need a hip replacement, you want to have your insurance there. You know, so for me, I like insurance idea being there for the big catastrophe things. If you do have a heart attack, you have that kind of a hospital stay, you want that $1 million to $2 million that's there to cover it. So I keep my fees is I do it $25 for people, and then $10 for kids up until they're 18, and just because it's important, keep it affordable for people so that they use it. I mean, you don't want to price yourself out of it so that they don't use it. I would rather take care of more people at a lower rate versus less people at a higher rate. But again, because it's your business, you set it up however you want it. You have some practices that are huge as far as medicine. They're the ones that will probably do things like muscle stim and heat. You could have massage therapy, some insurance covers that. You know, and they'll bill for everything that they can bill for. The problem with that is you better be careful, you know, that you're going the right way.
Do you have assistants, or is it just you?
It's just me.
Just you. Really?
And so I work it out to where the system's quick enough when the patients come in. The first visit might take 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how in-depth they are, you know, how much, you know, is it a car wreck, is it a bad fall, or is somebody just, their back's been sore for however long they decide to get it checked out. You know, that'd be a little bit easier. But as far as a typical adjustment at my office, my policy is if you're car door to car door longer than 15 minutes, there's a problem. So you come in, you get adjusted, and walk out the door, which is cool. So I mean, that helps you see a whole lot of people. Yeah. And so therefore, then you can set it up and you can have, when you're not filing as much insurance and all that type of stuff, you don't have to pay your staff, so you don't have to cover that overhead. And so then you can charge a lower fee.
About how many people would you say you see as a quarter?
I would say in a day, right now I'm probably doing about 30 as far as a day. I've seen as much as 66. I mean, I know people that see 100 a day. You know, they get them in and get them out. And you sit there and say, well, how do you get the good care? If you educate them right at the beginning, you're here to get adjusted, not to have the conversation. Because, you know, symptoms are important. They tell us that something's going on. You know, we got a fever. That tells us we got a problem. We're throwing up because we shouldn't have ate that piece of fish. You know, that's not a good piece of fish. We have pain because something's not right. You know, and if we couldn't feel pain, think how that would be. You touch a stove and you destroy your hand. Those types of things. So the symptoms are important, but they don't really have anything to do as far as chiropractic is concerned, as far as whether there's a need to adjust something or not. You know, with that, you're going to use your palpation, use whatever chiropractic technique. There's hundreds of techniques that you use, and you have used their protocol, and that tells you where to find out where to adjust it and how to adjust it. And then you adjust them. You certainly want people feeling better. Nobody wants to feel miserable. But the goal isn't to feel better. The goal is for your body to work better, if that makes sense. And then hopefully through that, you'll start to feel better. How old would you say that person is?
65.
Yeah.
Yeah, 65, 70. The person's 57 years old in that picture. You know who that is? Can you tell?
So Bill Gates.
It's Bill Gates.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so what does Bill Gates do all day long, right? He's at a computer. So he's doing this. Well, what he's in effect doing is giving himself a whiplash all day long for however many hours that he's at the computer. If we took a picture of him, he's going to have a straight neck as far as his curve. Straight neck puts pressure out over the feet. Now all of a sudden, that's why at the end of the day, you're between your shoulder blades are real tight because the muscles between your shoulders are real tired from holding your head up. And so, but what happens is because he doesn't get it taken care of, that gets worse and worse and worse and worse, which is going to also lead to possibly other health problems because his nervous system's interfered with. And so we'll probably hear poor Bill, you know, I mean, he can afford any doctor he wants, that's for sure. But that's the thing, he's going to have a whole lot of things going on. Certainly probably have chronic pain. I know there was a commercial he did with Jerry Seinfeld for some shoe store. I don't know if you remember seeing that one. But he and Jerry were walking out of the parking lot, and you can see his belt line was like that. And his hips are all walking jawed and out of position. And, you know, so that's the thing about health. You never truly know that you're healthy. You know, you may have heard the story, you know, the guy ate right, he exercised, he played with the kids, he went to church, all those things, and drops dead of a heart attack at 55. And everybody says, well, it doesn't make sense because he was so healthy. He wasn't healthy, he just felt good. And so, you know, that's the object of chiropractic, get your body working as well as it possibly can. And now you want to add into that, certainly exercise and eating right, sleeping enough, taking time for yourself just to meditate, just to clear your mind a little bit, all those types of things to blow off stress. Certainly, because if your nervous system's working great, and you got the Ferrari engine, but you have the body of a Pinto, you're not going to be going anywhere. Versus the other side of it is you can exercise and eat right, you have that Ferrari body, but your engine's not working right, it's still not going to go there. But you put them all together, and now you got something, a high-performance vehicle.
So how, like, the average of, say, a healthy person who doesn't have any pain,
right?
Like, should they go to the chiropractor just once a year?
I get my spine checked once a week. But if you look at my history, with how I heard it, with whatever you do, played football in high school, so my neck's all messed up, had car accidents, all those types of things. So I get my spine checked once a week. My kids get their spine checked once a week. That doesn't mean I adjust them necessarily. Right. They lay down and see what's going on, and then they're on their way. If I adjust them, I adjust them. If I don't have to, I don't have to. It depends on where you go. A lot of times, there are people that hold their adjustments for a month or 2 months or whatever it is. But you don't know that you need to be adjusted unless you get checked. But it's the same idea as how long should you eat right, how long should you exercise, for the rest of your life, that type of thing. And that's why it's a good idea to keep it affordable, so you can use it. But that's the problem with, in my opinion, as far as things when it's just pain relief, that's where it's not that, it doesn't get that affordable. And then people will say, well, I'll just come in when you need you. When do you think you need me? Well, when it hurts. But does pain happen before or after damage? Right. You think about a cavity. Anybody have a cavity in here before? In a minute, it's okay. Even though if you're dental students. But what's going to happen, that cavity's forming, and you don't know that it's forming until maybe you took an x-ray or the hole burst through and the nerve's exposed. But meanwhile, that damage process is going on, and obviously the reason we go get checked every 6 months or so, if there is a cavity forming, get to it early versus the tooth starting to really decay and get destroyed. The same deal goes on with your spine. Arthritis, let's see. So if you have, see right here, see the head's tilted? And so now you have extra pressure that's going on in that spine because the bones aren't where they're supposed to be. Does that make sense? So think about it like your car. When your tires are misaligned, what happens to the tires over time? They wear wrong. Exactly. That's what especially osteoarthritis is. It's your body wearing wrong. As far as certainly as the spine. When you hear about discs starting to degenerate, you start to hear about bone spurs on the spine and those types of things. The only reason it's doing that is there's more pressure than is intended in that area of the spine. Does that make sense? I don't know. We don't have a dry erase board in here, do we?
Is there?
That's a chalk one.
Is it chalkboard?
Yeah.
Do we have chalk?
Probably.
Is it on that little railing?
It's behind it.
Let's see. Chalkboard? Yeah, there's chalkboard. All right. So we have. I hope that was important. So we have, if you look at your spine, the main job of the spine is to protect your nervous system. Your spinal cord is so important, much like your brain, that the body encases it in bone. So the bone acts like armor. The most efficient way to protect your spine would be a solid tube of bone. What's the problem with that?
Can't bend.
Exactly. So we're not going to be able to bend. So the bone's broken up into 24 different bones. The discs are there to give the joint space so that you can still bend. Now in that setup from the side, hopefully you can see it, and I'm not a great artist, so that's the nose. And then if the spine was straight up and down, there's one pressure we're under all day long, and what's that? Close. What holds us to the earth? Gravity. So gravity. So gravity is compressing us into the earth. Does that make sense? Now, if it's compressing us into earth, you can have more pressure up top or down below. Right. So all the way to your upper body is going to sit in your lower back if we had a straight spine. That being said, our spines, the way they're designed with those discs and those joint spaces, you blow it out by the time you're 20 years old. Not a good thing. So what God and nature have done for us is put in a shock absorber. And so you have a neck curve, a mid-back, and a low back curve. And now you have a spring, in essence. So when gravity pushes down on the spine, you're going to dissipate your force out. So by the time it gets to there, it could be more or less than over here. A lot less. And so therefore your spine is going to last throughout your lifetime. The problem starts happening when you get misaligned. Then you're going to get the wear and tear that before it's time type of thing. The most common thing, like we talked about, is a neck like this. Because we do, as humans, we do everything just about at hand level. You know, how many times you're at the computer, or you're reading, even, we sit in a recliner like this, or sitting on the couch, we have our heads up. What that's doing is giving you whiplash. It's the same motion, it's just more repetitive and as violent as a whiplash is. A straight neck, so now if you have a straight neck, is the force going to go out? Where's it going to go? Right. So it's going to go down and it's going to sit right there. And that's why when you look at spines, most often where arthritis shows up is about C5, C6, C7, as far as in the neck, the lower vertebrae, because that's where the extra pressure is. Now that's a straight neck, so guess what? Your lower back's going to move different ways, just trying to keep your eyes upright with the horizon. Does that make sense? So then the whole thing's going to, and now all of a sudden, now that straightens out, so guess what? Now you have some low back pain. A lot of times people get their necks adjusted, the low back pain goes away, and it goes away because that's probably where the problem is. Your head moves, the most movable joint in your body is C1, C2, because your head moves so much during the day. So the top two vertebrae are the ones that do so much movement. So they're the most important. Every nerve that's going through your body is going through those two vertebrae. I mean, the nerves to your heart, to your lungs, to your little toe, they all go through that. We know the story about Christopher Reeve, Superman? So he falls off a horse, he injures his spine, and he's paralyzed from shoulders down. That's where he hurt himself. So he didn't hurt his spine anywhere below that. So that's why the neck is such an important area as far as chiropractic, which is what's good about Sherman, because they concentrate on what's called upper cervical care. So I adjust every bone in the spine, but I pay real close attention to the neck. To me, that's the most important area as far as that's concerned. And so therefore, the thing about when you have misaligned tires, well, what do you do when the tires go bad?
Do you replace them?
Replace the tires. Can you replace the spine? Yeah. Well, it's true. But, and even still, even when you can replace the spine, how expensive do you think that would be?
I mean, you typically put in rods beside them, correct?
Right, but now what you've done, though, is you've lost your mobility big time. And if you straighten out that spine. The reason, if you look at a lot of laminectomies and back surgeries, they'll work, but then people end up going in later on and getting something else done. And what you've done is, the muscles are there for a reason. They're there to hold support, but if you cut those muscles, and just do a laminectomy, well, then where have you lost that support? A little bit. But then over time, it starts to show up again. So bone spurs start showing up on the vertebra above or below it. And so, if you got to have it, you got to have it. But why not get your spine checked early? You think about how many times does a child fall learning how to walk? That's an impact on the spine. Car accidents, playing sports, you name it. Boom, 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 boom. How many times in your life have you fallen down? That's an impact on the spine. And so, keep things checked and in place so as you go out through life, a lot of that ugly stuff doesn't happen, hopefully.
Now I want to go to
school in general. Are there many chiropractic schools in South Carolina?
One.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
And in the country?
I think there's 16 worldwide. Well, no, there's 16 in the country, maybe about 23 worldwide. The biggest one is Life in Atlanta. You may have heard of that. It was the original one is in Davenport, Iowa. It's just Palmer College, and then Palmer's also got one out in Los Angeles, and they have one down in Florida. Life has one out in Los Angeles. There's one in Dallas. Cleveland Chiropractic College is in Kansas City. Well, that makes sense. The guy's name is Cleveland. But Sherman, I think there's one in New York, out in Illinois, and a few others.
Yeah, I've got a lot of students from all over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get all over. Which is hard because as a school, if I go to a medical doctor's office here in South Carolina or I go in California, you're probably going to see about the same thing. Because chiropractic is so varied between sides of the spectrum, there's a lot of different laws as far as what chiropractic is. That's kind of why it gets confusing sometimes, as far as what states say that you can and can't